Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, January 27, 2026 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with all council members present tonight. So before we move on to the business on our agenda for tonight, I do have a couple of statements that I wish to share with the community, and then we will move on to adoption of the agenda. So first, I just want to express that we are heartbroken and angry about the recent killings of Alex Preddy at the hands of ICE federal agents just a couple weeks after the shooting and killing of Renee Good. Unfortunately, many others have died as well as the result of this presidential administration's inhumane approach with immigration enforcement. No family should lose a loved one on this way, and no community should have to live in fear of the people who are supposed to uphold the law. What we are seeing right now is deeply disturbing, and it demands accountability, transparency, and leadership from every level of government. So prior to this event this weekend, I've been working with County Commissioner Carolina Mejia to hold a meeting to coordinate with elected officials and our staff throughout the county. Local leaders need to be on the same page, prepared, and clear about how we protect our residents and our public employees when federal actions put our community members at risk. So just a few topics that we're hoping to cover in this meeting include Immigration 101, to ensure that a shared understanding of our immigration system, responsibilities and limitations across our jurisdictions, interjurisdictional coordination, including communication pathways between cities, schools, local law enforcement, and county departments. Lessons observed in other jurisdictions, including obstructions of emergency response, arrest, or detention of public employees, and impacts to service delivery. Planning for scenarios involving external federal actions with a focus on how local governments respond collectively and lawfully. Situational awareness, reporting, and employee support protocols should an incident occur. City staff are also preparing additional information to our city residents, encouraging you to prioritize your safety. If you see what appears to be an altercation or a detention by a federal agent, please be safe, call 911, and Olympia police officers will respond to the scene and handle any necessary questioning. As a sanctuary city, our officers are prohibited from assisting ICE in any of their efforts to detain anyone in our community. Olympia Police will ensure that there are legitimate agents on the scene. They have warrants verified and maintain order for our community members. Our officers will also remain on the scene to record with their body cameras. You are also permitted to record an incident from a safe distance in a public space without physically intervening. The safety of everyone in our community remains our top priority. We also have signed on to an amicus brief at the city that is led by the City of Boston and the Public Rights Project, along with several of the nation's cities, counties, and other communities to argue that the deadly surge of federal agents into Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota is an unlawful and unconstitutional effort to punish these communities and endanger Americans. I am supportive of Governor Ferguson's and the Attorney General Brown's proposed actions to prepare for the worst should the federal government increase its presence here in Thurston County. Our community deserves to feel safe, respected, and heard. And these actions are steps within our local control toward building the knowledge, coordination, and accountability needed to serve and protect everyone. So I also have a statement here in regards to the closure of one of our encampments. So I just want to provide an update on that as well from a statement that I made at our Chamber of Commerce forum known as the State of the Community on January 14th about the city's intent to develop a plan to close the last remaining encampment in Olympia, commonly referred to as the jungle, to manage expectations and also address rumors. I want to clarify that the city is just getting started in this work. We are committed to working collaboratively with our regional nonprofit and service provider partners. Rest assured, no decisions have been made, including a timeline for when the encampment will close. It's early days, and city and county managers are working with their teams to kick off the work to start developing a plan soon. And we do not anticipate a closing of the encampment this year. So hopefully that provides some clarity. And obviously, if you have additional questions about that, please reach out to the city. All right, so with that, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is item 1C, which is the consideration of a resolution expressing city council support for the Olympia School District number 111, proposition number 1, technology and capital projects replacement levy. And we have our assistant city manager, Debbie Sullivan, presenting. Hi, Debbie.
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, I'm Debbie Sullivan, Assistant City Manager. Tonight, you are considering a resolution to express support for Olympia School District number 111, Proposition 1, a technology and capital projects replacement levy. Before City Council can take action to support or oppose a ballot proposition, Washington State requires that the public have an opportunity to comment in support or in opposition to the ballot measure. So before opening the public hearing, I'll provide some information. Proposition 1, a technology, safety, and facility improvement replacement levy, will be presented to voters on the February 10th special election ballot. The proposed replacement levy is not a new tax. It is replacing an expiring 4-year levy previously approved by voters. The levy is estimated to raise $72.9 million over a 4-year period and would fund initiatives including touchscreen mobile computer devices, classroom audio systems, Ingersoll Stadium improvements to make it safer and more energy efficient, safety sensors installed in secondary schools, Chromebook carts, classroom display systems, and replacement IPVS cameras. And with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor to open the public hearing.
All right, well, thank you so much, Debbie. So moving on, again, agenda item 1C is a public hearing pursuant to RCW 42.17A.555 on the Olympia School District number 111, Proposition 1, Technology and Capital Projects Replacement Levy. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. So it is our custom that if you are not signed up in advance, but you wish to testify during a public hearing on this levy, now is your opportunity to do so. And it looks like we do have Patrick Murphy, the superintendent of Olympia School District.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I just wanted to start by just saying a thank you to the city in general for our partnership with the school district. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and I'm grateful for the partnership between the school district and the city of Olympia. It's important. And I'm grateful for you for elevating this initiative and talking about it. As the superintendent, I certainly don't tell people how to vote. I just tell them what's in the proposal. And it was said before I came to the microphone here, some key things that are about it. But this is a ballot measure that's really about maintaining a lot of things that we have in place in our school district to better prepare our students for whatever it is they want to go to when they leave our system. We're very fortunate in the Olympia School District to have passed a levy 4 years ago that allowed us to get a lot of technology that's going to improve student outcomes in the future and get them ready for whatever field of work they want to go into. 8 years ago, we were better prepared than almost every school district in the state when it came to the pandemic by having at-home ability for our families because of things that were in our previous technology levy. You heard about Ingersoll Stadium. There's HVAC improvements. There's security door improvements in there. A lot of things in a capital levy are like taking care of your house. Some of it's not the most exciting stuff in the world, but it's really, really important. But I'm just grateful for you, again, elevating this. It's very important. and just grateful to the city and the people of this community for their support for Olympia Schools. So thank you.
Thank you, and good to see you. All right. So, yes, I see we have someone raising their hand from the audience. If you could please approach the podium. You have at least 3 minutes for your comments. And when the light turns yellow, you have 30 seconds remaining in your comments. And please introduce your name for the record.
My name is Terry Ballard. I'm a 35-year veteran, retired in 2012, and I own 5 acres in Olympia. I didn't really want to speak today about Olympia School District, but I do have the debt, the outstanding debt off of the Thurston County Treasurer, and I was here for Thurston County actually. In 2016, Olympia School District had $47 million in debt, but it was voted in by the people. Again, in 2018, it has a standing debt of $61 million, and again, it was voted in by the people. In 2020, it had a debt of $59 million, but again, it was voted in by the people. In 2020, it had a $24 million debt, again, voted in by the people. Outstanding debt on the Treasurer's website for Olympia School District is $192,165,000. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.
Hi, Erica. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Seriously, okay. I'm Erica Larry. I'm on the board of OSD for All, and I'm a community member. I'm not here to endorse or oppose this levy resolution. I'm going to vote for it like a good Olympian, and I was raised by immigrants, so I'm definitely going to vote for it. But I'm also voting for it because I'm hamstrung by a school district that speaks more of fiscally centered solutions than student-centered ones. I sent my child to a private middle school not for any technology or program choice or because it was a wise financial decision. My kid has one chance at this education thing, and I know what can happen to a middle school student at the intersection of special needs and highly capable if they're lost by a complex and unintentional system. I own my privilege, but to be clear, the district was still flush with ESSER funds then and could have made all of that school transition a lot more streamlined in the wake of COVID. Instead, they hired instructional coaches and added further programming, costs that don't leave, like 4th grade strings or principal and librarian time, or maybe an entire school. In 2023, when 2 schools were voted on for closure, most of this council remained silent. Silent to what, in my estimation, is the single most important service in this city. A service not administered by any of you, but connected completely. So much so that city projects are more and more a part of school funding. The scope of our pre-kindergarten programs have become scarcer over the last 10 years, and we have as many programs as a district twice our size. We don't have too many buildings. Our student population has remained largely steady, and if we're having issues with enrollment, I've seen programs expanded for interest and shrunk because the district would not pay for a teacher. I am currently paying SPSCC full price, not for Running Start, but for a freshman in high school to get a foreign language credit. We are, and by the way, I am in the district now. Anyway, we are lacking intention and focus. I ask that the next time something like this occurs, in this catchment no less, my catchment, the Armory's catchment, the most disadvantaged East Side catchment, and the best goddamn catchment in this city, that the city council will have the fervor for a resolution based on the equitable and well-delivered system that the community wants, and not conveniently say out of the district's budget when it isn't paying for sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please introduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, Mayor Payne, council members, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share our thoughts tonight. My name is Ryan Betts. I'm the chair of Olympia Citizens for Schools. We're an organization supporting the levy, and I'm just here to back and thank you for considering your endorsement of this really important initiative. I'm a parent of 2 kids that are in Olympia schools, one that just graduated last year, one that's at Olympia High School. Our experience has been nothing but spectacular, and I accredit that to the teaching and the technology and the schools and the places that our kids have to learn. Our schools are what make our community so special. It's one of the reasons why we call Olympia home. And so I just want to encourage you to support this effort. There's a lot of, as Patrick shared with you, maybe not exciting things in here, but really important things that make our schools healthy and safe places for our kids to learn. So thank you so much and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. All right, so I'll go one more time. Is there anyone else in the chambers that wishes to testify in this hearing? Okay, seeing none. Are there any members of the council who wish to speak in support or opposition to Proposition 1? Councilmember Green.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Payne. I just want to speak briefly in full support of this proposition. Too many words running through my head. I sit in the position that I have 2 kids in the Olympia School District system, so I definitely directly benefit from this, and I acknowledge that. But I feel like as I have looked at school-related propositions and levies throughout our entire region, it's a place where some people are choosing to express general unhappiness with increasing unaffordability in our community, with taxes, with all of the things. And school levies are unfortunately one of the few things that they actually get to vote on. And so I worry increasingly that people are going to choose schools as the place where they get to say no. And I just think there is a benefit to an entire community, whether you will have kids who take advantage of our school system, whether you won't, whether your kids are grown and gone. Every community needs and wants well-educated youth, and anybody thinking about moving into our area, staying in our area, it's certainly going to come into play if there's a community who chooses not to invest in a quality K-12 education system. So I think levies like this are critical. I appreciate that this one is essentially keeping support at the same level. This is not new costs. This is not new expenses. And so I would be happy to support a motion on this.
Great, thank you. Any additional comments? All right, well, Councilmember Green, would you like to make the motion to adopt the resolution?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd love to make a motion. I would move to adopt the resolution expressing City Council support for the Olympia School District number 111, Proposition number 1, Technology and Capital Projects Replacement Levy.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, but before we do that, hold that. Point of order. I got you, City Attorney. I'm going to close the public hearing on the resolution expressing the city's support for the Olympia School District number 111, Proposition number 1, Technology and Capital Projects Replacement Levy. Now, we have a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, well, thank you all very much, and thank you, Olympia School District, for coming out tonight. Good to see you. All right, so that takes us to our public comment on our agenda for tonight. We do have a few folks who are signed up in person and online, so I am going to turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
How many do we have? We have about 30 public commenters, and we have 2 minutes each for each public comment, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and honor the folks that came here in person first. So we'll do in person, and then we'll switch to online. I'll call a few up at a time, and so you can hear for your name and sort of get in queue there. And just as you saw with public hearing, once you start talking, the clock starts, your 2 minute starts, and then you also have some green, yellow, and red lights there for you so you can monitor your time. And if it does sort of cut off at the end there for your time, do feel free to finish your sentence, but we do ask for you to please wrap up. So with that, we have Dwayne Slate, followed by Heather Penns, followed by Barbara Davis. Never, sir. We wouldn't do that.
I'm too old to say things like that too, Sam. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Dwayne Slate. Thank you for passing that resolution. I used to be on the Olympia School Board, and my only complaint to my fellow school board members was they didn't ask for enough money. This community will support the schools. You're doing the right thing. I'm here tonight because Bill Daley was my friend. I'm sorry that you guys didn't get to know the guy. You would have liked him a lot. Bill's idea was make some friends, have a lot of fun, and, oh yeah, do some good along the way. When he was mayor, I was the president of the school board, and Les Eldridge was the president of the county commissioners. We used to have lunch once a month to coordinate things that were going on that would affect one another's jurisdiction. Actually, the main reason we did that was so that Partlow and Oakland would see us and write something in the Olympian about how these guys are doing something behind closed doors and trying to run schemes on people, which we were, of course, but we were just trying to get away with it all. Bill is going to be honored by naming the armory after him, as I understand. And that's really a good idea. What does a politician have to do with art? To Bill, politics was a challenge. Art was fun. Art was what he loved. Politics was what he was challenged to do. And he made politics an art form. When I came to this town I came down here to be in the first class of the Evergreen State College. And I was going to get George McGovern elected president. Bill was going to get Jim, oh geez, time's up. Please support the proposal to name the armory after Bill Daley. He made politics an art form. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Heather Penns?
Hi, I'm Heather Penns. I live in Olympia, and I'm going to talk about wanting a new tree ordinance. I live by the Springwood Gardens proposed development, and it is a 7-acre site on which there are 168 trees. 18 of these trees are 24-inch diameter at breast height or larger, which are considered landmark trees, protected for habitat value for wildlife, and they store significant carbon. 3 of these trees are 40-inch diameter at breast height or larger, which are considered heritage trees. Only 14 trees will be retained. Only 2 of these trees are very large trees. 39 single-family lots are being sandwiched on this site. The houses will be big, making them unaffordable to the average person and taking so much of the small yards that the trees will be cleared and saplings put in. Smaller houses would be more affordable and would allow more trees to be saved. The small replacement trees will take years to produce the same benefits. We can do development better than this. I would like to see a new tree ordinance created and implemented as soon as possible so that the future housing developments will retain more trees. And also in February, you will be voting on the home energy savings audit. And you agreed to this in the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan. Please vote yes on this. We need all the items in the mitigation plan to be implemented. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Barbara Davis, followed by Victoria Harmon, followed by Rita R. Robison.
I live downtown at Legion and Washington, and I've lived there for almost 6 years. I thank the council and our city staff for doing many things right in our city, including in my neighborhood, which is only one part of Olympia. With that said, I have come to ask the council to either move the Harm Reduction Center on Franklin or to see that its operations are significantly changed. In the short time since that center opened, it has harmed my neighborhood. Though well-intentioned, it is attracting a new level of antisocial behavior that daily spills down Franklin to Legion and all the way around my block. Recently, in front of the Washington Center, I passed a large area of diarrhea that was spread all over 30 minutes before the doors were supposed to open. 2 days ago, walking back along Washington, in the front window, below the front window of Drees, I passed a man masturbating under a very thin blanket. Now, for a long time, I considered the squalor downtown to be an acceptable level of urban nuisance. I'm proud of my city for its compassion, for trying to help vulnerable people. But I no longer believe that good intentions make up for unintended negative consequences. Please do more to, I'm sorry, I thought I was done. On particular blocks at particular times, our little downtown does look good. But overall, there's not enough traffic to support most businesses in being open more than part-time. Overall, downtown Olympia is only half alive. Please do more to protect downtown and our businesses, beginning with rethinking that Franklin Street Center.
Thank you. Victoria Harmon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm here today to share a brief update and an invitation on behalf of your public library. This year, Timberland Regional Library is taking a close look at how we serve our community, specifically how our customer service feels to the people who walk through our doors every day. To help guide that work, we've launched a new customer service survey, and we'd love the community's help. From now through mid-March, library users can take a quick 2-minute survey, either in English or Spanish. The survey is completely anonymous unless someone chooses to share their name, and it's easy to access at self-checkout machines through our website or by scanning a QR code on our bookmarks, which I put on the tables. The goal is simple. We want to know what's working well, where we can do better. We're asking patrons how welcome they feel, whether staff interactions are clear and respectful, and how well the library is meeting their needs. And if a staff member has made someone's visit especially positive, the survey is a great place to give them a shout out. That recognition helps us understand what great service looks like and how to create more of those experiences. We'll carefully review the responses to identify themes and trends, improve communication and training, and recognize staff who consistently deliver exceptional service. This survey will be offered twice this year, so we can measure progress and make meaningful improvements. Of course, we always welcome feedback anytime, good or not so good, at local branches, through our website, and by email. We truly value community input and see this survey as a partnership. Thank you for supporting your library and helping us strengthen library experiences for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rita R. Robison, followed by Sam Hunt, followed by Margaret Knutson.
My name is Rita Robison. I live in Tumwater, Washington. I'd like to thank the City of Olympia for setting up a facility naming process that includes citizen participation. I'd also like to thank the City Council's Community Livability and Public Safety Committee for recommending that the Kaiser Woods Park be named for Marge Young and that the Yelm Highway Community Park be named for Jolene Unsold. I met these two fantastic women when we were working on issues in the Thurston County League of Women Voters. I followed their progress as they learned about how government worked, and then they decided to run for public office. Marge said she figured out that another part of having effective government was having skilled elected officials. That's why she ran for county commissioner. Not an easy endeavor in the 1970s. Marge and Jolene were both community leaders who deserve the honor of having a park named after them. Please make it so.
Thank you.
Thank you. A little different from this point of view, I have to say, after all the years being a legislator. I'm Sam Hunt, and I have two people I want to talk to you about tonight that you've already heard about, Jolene Unsold and Bill Daly, both giants in the Olympia, Thurston County, and Washington history. Now, Jolene went to Oregon State University. She met Willie Unsold, married, went to Nepal, where Willie conquered the Himalayas, and she taught school and had 4 kids. She came back and became a public disclosure guru. She did public disclosure because she wanted to know where the money came from and who got it and how it was spent. She took 3x5 cards. She gathered all the information at her own cost. She printed a book, who came or who gave and how much every year, so that the people could see. A great thing that led to the Public Disclosure Commission. She served as a Washington State representative and as a member of Congress, as we know, was a progressive in both places. She never stopped. Some of us wondered if she ever slept, because it was not too uncommon to get a call at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning from Jolene as she was working on her next project. I think it'd be wonderful to name that park for Jolene. Following his death in 2023, the Olympian said that former Mayor Bill Daly should be remembered as one of Olympia's scenic visionaries. Daly was a transitional leader who convinced the city to progress from a 3-member to a 7-member council. Among his accomplishments, the Performing Arts Center, the new and expanded Farmers Market, the Senior Center, the Boardwalk, the Percival Landing, and others. And he also established the sister city relationship with Greece and went to Olympia, Greece. I could go on and on about Bill, but just say that he was a good guy, a hard worker, as Dwayne pointed out, and always had a good taste for Jameson, which kept us going. I recommend that you do these 2 actions for Bill Daly and Jolene Unsold.
Thank you. Next, we have Margaret Knudsen, followed by Lynn Fitzhugh, followed by Charlotte Persons.
Council members, my name is Margaret Knudsen. I live in Olympia Precinct 28. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of those in this community who love parks and to honor the works of former Thurston County Commissioner Marge Young and former State Representative Jolene Unsold. In 1970, I was at the Northgate Mall in Seattle collecting signatures for the Shoreline Initiative. My husband, Jim, was an air quality specialist with the Department of Health, with offices in Smith Tower. The new Department of Ecology was just opening in Lacey, and the air quality program was moved over to DOE. After commuting for 2 weeks and thinking it was just awful then, in June of '71, we moved to Olympia. Beating Jocelyn Dome at the Sherwood Press, finding that there was no Democratic precinct person for Olympia 28, I became it. I jumped into it with my year-old daughter on my back. I doorbelled Ole 28 for George McGovern. McGovern won the county, and I'm sure it was during that time I met Marge and Jocelyn, dynamic women, along with others in the League of Women Voters. My husband's graduate work was environmental public health with a specialty in pollution, with air pollution. Remember the aroma of Tacoma? Marge was interested in his work in cleaning up the environment. Jim was also a climber and went up Mount St. Helens in 1978, 2 years before it blew. Jolene was interested in that and his time with the Appalachian Mountain Club back east when he was in the Public Health Service. I continued as a PC and held Marge's first neighborhood meet and greet in our home. I wanted to talk about Jolene's Public Disclosure Commission. Can't say I enjoyed filling out the required reports as a treasurer of a local campaign, but knew it was important for open government. They were visionary, loved the Northwest, and mentored others. We need to remember their names and contributions.
Thank you.
Lynn Fitzhugh, Executive Director of Restoring Earth Connection. For 8 years, I've been interacting with various city staff, encouraging Olympia to create a new tree ordinance since the current one was written in 1991. A lot has changed in our understanding of trees in 35 years. I do understand that a series of various events that have caused delays and know that you now have both funding and staff to do this. And yet it is still not planned to start until this fall. Unless it is given importance, it will continue to be bumped by one thing after another. Under the Inspire grant last year, we did the Tree Ambassador program, having trained volunteers walk door to door with benefits of trees handouts, explaining to residents the reasons not to cut their trees down. We also held a contest for the largest tree of each species and neighborhood. In the course of that, we learned a lot of valuable information that I wish there was a way to share with City Council. Most notably, almost all of the largest trees we found are at risk of being cut down due to development. They are either on properties of very elderly homeowners whose properties will be sold, probably to developers upon their death, or to sort of neglected rental properties that will also become no longer rentable and sold to developers. There is no current mechanism to protect our largest trees. Others will share all the benefits of trees, but those are most concentrated in bigger trees, which is why these trees need protection. Literally, some of them will be gone before you can write the code. We saw a number of neighborhoods that were 8 blocks by 8 blocks developed in the last 10, 15, or 20 years where every tree was removed and only small saplings planted back of a variety that will never grow big and also non-native. They are permanent heat islands with higher health risks, heating and cooling bills, and flooding risks. Finally, I'll just encourage you next month when the home energy score comes before you to vote for it. Unrelated, but another item in the Thirst and Climate Mitigation Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Charlotte Persons, followed by Karen Frazier, followed by Maj Policino.
I'm Charlotte Persons, and I live in Northeast Olympia. Like others here tonight, I'm speaking about the need to move up the writing of a new tree code. You've already gotten a grant to write it, so writing it literally costs you nothing. Trees are a climate issue. They are in the Thirst and Climate Action Plan for a reason. You approve this plan, and the plan requires all the items to be implemented. It is not an a la carte menu. Trees draw down and store carbon. Everything else in the plan are ways to create fewer greenhouse gases. There are only 2 items in the plan that remove greenhouse gases: agriculture and trees. The often repeated developer mantra that we cannot have both trees and housing is not true. We can include not just saplings. We can preserve mature trees where it is possible. I look forward to your moving forward on the creation of the new tree code that preserves mature trees, and I hope you will look to other jurisdictions like Thurston County that have found a way to do so. By the way, please save the date for March when you will vote on the Home Energy Savings Audit, another item in the Thurston Climate Action Plan.
Thank you. Next, we have Karen Frazier.
Well, good evening. I'm Karen Fraser, and I'm here this evening on behalf of the committee, Remembering Jolene Unsold Steering Committee. We've been meeting for about a year, and I gave a copy of our letter to staff, and I hope they'll be able to distribute it to you. We have 118 endorsement names on it, so I'd like you to see who they are. I think you know many of them. But and we thank the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and the City Council's Community Livability Committee for endorsing the recommendation to name the Elm Highway Park after Jolene Unsold. She represented our area with great distinction as a state representative and a member of Congress, and she's very well remembered and appreciated for her accomplishments on parks and recreation, the environment, public disclosure, as you've heard a lot about. She's sort of the mother of public disclosure. Public employees, educators, Puget Sound, early childhood education, working people, retirees, and more. She was indefatigable, you might say. She was a highly accomplished outdoor recreationist. I wish I could give you a talk about all her accomplishments there. And she always exemplified the highest standards of public service, a trailblazer for women and really all in public service. So it would be a great step forward to name this park after her. So we urge you to concur with your City Council Committee and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and to name the Yelm Highway Park after Jolene Unsold. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Maj Policiano? Will you please help me pronounce your name?
Mag Policino.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. I live in Olympia, and I was dismayed not only at the recent announcement about plans to close the jungle in Lacey, but also at the language used. It sounds as though closing the jungle is being treated as an item on a checklist rather than what it really is, forcibly displacing our most vulnerable neighbors. You mentioned looking for opportunities to increase accountability in the plans. For who? This council and its partners, the people who live at the jungle. Accountability for people who are unhoused implies that they are not entitled to basic human rights unless they are deemed to be the perfect victim. It also suggests a pull yourself up by your bootstraps attitude against systems purposely built to stack the deck against poor and working class people. I'd like to remind everyone in this room that all of us are much closer to being failed by the system, just like our neighbors in the jungle, than we are to those in power who built these corrupt systems. Seeking treatment for addiction or mental health is a personal choice for someone to make and should not be drawn as a weapon of compliance against people who are being punished for simply surviving in plain sight. The residents of the jungle are best equipped to share how their health and well-being can be supported, not city and town councils that seek to criminalize homelessness. If this move is about the well-being of our neighbors, ask them how we can help, not just your nonprofit partners. Our friends at the jungle have requested details about a timeline and other decisions regarding the displacement throughout the process. They would also like better care from the community and city. Tents, clothes, first aid supplies, trash receptacles, home-cooked meals, and more people willing to listen are some of their immediate needs. There's a donation table outside the building. Maybe some of you have a bag that's been sitting in your trunk for a while. You can also support groups such as Food Not Bombs, who do weekly distro at the jungle. A simple browser search for Olympia Food Not Bombs will help you find them. In closing, I'd like to reiterate that the residents of the jungle know what they need. If the city of Olympia and Lacey want to help, then please talk directly with them, not around them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mag. This is a good opportunity for me to share with folks that are coming for the first time or for reminding folks that are returning to us that if you're hoping to hear a response from the City Council, you may very well hear that. We just go through the entire list of public commenters, and then there will be time for a response from City Council or response from staff. So we are listening. Okay. With that, next we have Natasha Hayes, followed by Al Ralston, followed by Erica Laurie.
Hi, Natasha Hayes, Northwest Olympia, and I'm the president of Restoring Earth Connections. I also want to talk about please implementing the tree code as soon as possible. We do have somebody to draft that, et cetera, please. But because other people have touched on things, I want very quickly to go over lots of advantages of trees. So, people have talked about climate change. A statistic is, in fact, that Olympia's trees sequester more than 420,000 pounds of carbon every year. In terms of improving air quality, the street trees, again, and we're not talking neighborhoods, we're talking the street trees, remove 2,500 pounds of air pollutants from that. Of course, we've just had these two atmospheric rivers, and they're very, very important for stormwater retention because of, being able to get the water, their roots, et cetera, and, that helps enormously. And again, they also, as we've talked about in terms of other things for energy, they lower both heating and cooling bills for everybody because they not only provide shade in the summer, but they also provide wind chill protection in the winter. So we're talking about a savings of about $330 per building, or altogether about $785,000. And then we also have, preventing heat islands, which goes along with some of that other stuff we've talked about. Interestingly enough, again, they also help prevent droughts, again, because of having that water stored and being able to give that out. We know that birds, we have lost literally billions of birds in many years, and that's because of loss of habitat. It also improves mental health. There's less depression. There's less, and there's better, asthma is not as much of a problem either. And the last thing is just that the people this affects the most are the poor. So that's very important because they don't have the trees. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Al Ralston? Is Al here? Oh, he had to go. Thank you, Mr. Slate. So we have Erica Laurie, followed by Grace Fletcher, followed by Holly Gadbaugh. Okay, do we have Grace Fletcher?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Grace Fletcher, and I'm here primarily as a community member. I also want to sincerely thank you and City staff on behalf of the Council of Neighborhood Associations for allowing us to use City Hall this weekend to hold a Community Priorities Forum. This weekend, more than 150 people chose to spend their Saturday together at City Hall. They showed up because they care about this community and about each other. We listened, we shared what matters most, and to start shaping ideas together. The intention is not to let this input sit on a shelf and collect dust. The intention is to use it as a foundation for real collaboration and real action. That only happens if we keep showing up and keep working together as a community. Right now, we are all watching painful things unfold in our country, including what's happening in Minneapolis. Moments like this remind us how fragile community can feel and how deeply people are hurting. But they also remind us how important it is to stay connected to one another locally. What I saw in that room were people from different backgrounds choosing to sit together, share a meal, talk with respect, and to remember our shared humanity. Because at the end of the day, we are all neighbors. From the neighbors next door to those across town, across the county, and across our state, including our unhoused neighbors. Community only works when it includes everyone. For those who could not attend, I want to invite you to still be part of this work. The CNA's Community Priority Survey is open through February 1st. Tell us what matters to you, then join us in helping make those things happen. This is how we build a stronger, more resilient community. Not alone, but together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Holly.
Good evening, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Bill Daley and why the armory should be named for him. I want to thank the committee, the community you changed your names of your committee so often, but anyway, the committee that recommended that this the armory be named for Bill. I want to thank you for your recommendation. Bill is deserving of this, of having the armory named after him because it was his vision and his political skills that helped revitalize downtown Olympia in the 80s. He was a commissioner who was elected to the first council, and he supported that change, and because he recognized the diversity that it would add to the council. And he would be so pleased if he saw this council today. He instigated moving the Washington Center from the old city dump where Hagen's is today to where it is now. He promoted the farmers market in Percival Landing. And most of all, for this award, he instigated the idea of the Arts Commission, got arts supporters to together with artists, and got the city council to adopt the concept of the Arts Commission. With me tonight are Bill's family. We have Aaron, his daughter, and his stepson, Devin, and we have his grandsons, Colby and Jet, and they're all, remember Bill, what a great grandfather he was and what a civic leader he was. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Kathy McCormick, followed by Terry Ballard, followed by Jaden Hipatra.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kathy McCormick, 2420 Columbia Street, Southwest, Olympia. I'm delighted to see and want to support naming the new Art Center after Bill Daley. Bill was a leader our city needed at a critical point in Olympia's history. He never sought recognition for himself. He always gave credit to others. This is an opportunity to tell an important story of Olympia at an inflection point with its change from a commission to a council member form of government in 1982. Bill brought his incredible knowledge and interest in what makes cities work to Olympia. As its first mayor with a dynamic new city council, they succeeded in kicking off an expansive view. This vision focused on the importance of arts and culture, as well as urban form that would attract housing and support existing and new downtown businesses. Bill and the council supported a community conversation through the 80s that shaped the new vision and explored the possibilities and necessary actions that were then incorporated in the city plans, and those same visions continue in those plans today. It's this work that led to the transportation or the transformation that we see in downtown, and our downtown and our neighborhoods are a tribute really to Bill and the council who had that vision, and also the ongoing leadership and public support of other councils over the last 40 years. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Terry Ballard. I own 5 acres in Olympia. In 2023, we all voted for a resolution of a sales and use tax. What they put on the resolution is faulty. It's false reporting, which is a gross misdemeanor. Also, the local voters pamphlet does not agree with the resolution, and that was put in the November 2023 voters pamphlet. It's starting to change. The resolution 16939, which was for a $42 million bond on May 21st, 2024, does not agree with the voters pamphlet nor the resolution. The assessor's printout for 111 Israel Road, where the sheriff would like to move to, is illegal. He has to stay within the county seat, and that's per RCW 3628-160. Also, office space must be provided in the courthouse for that sheriff and all the other officers, and that's found in RCW 3616-090. The detention sales tax, which they put into the juvenile facilities update, they've been robbing that from Peter to pay Paul for years. Okay, they use it for the sheriffs, the deputy sheriff who run the jail, and not the facility itself. and that should be used for the facilities and jails. We're at a $101 million debt in Thurston County. Within the last 5 years, we've doubled our debt, almost tripled. We need to spend the money where it needs to go, and it's not going into the right place. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get it.
Next, we have Jaden, followed by Bob Jacobs, followed by Krog Unsold, followed by Marianne Tompkins.
Council members, I am here as someone who has helped distribute food supplies on a weekly basis to our friends and our neighbors in the jungle encampment. I have read the article regarding the jungle shutdown, and it was clear that instead of actually fulfilling your duty to the citizens of this community by directly connecting with the jungle residents and checking in with their interests, you have instead made dehumanizing decisions about our neighbors' conditions without any actual idea of the material impact it will have on their lives. You wouldn't know that impact just talking about them. You would know sorry, I lost my place. You need to talk to them. It is never too late to change that. One of the friends I volunteer with there asked a few of the neighbors in the jungle what their needs are. I am imploring you to listen and actually serve these citizens. You have as much of a duty to as you have to those of us who happen to be housed. Our neighbors in the jungle have requested better care from the city and community. That includes everyone in this room. They would like more details about any times or decisions regarding displacement. They need things like weatherproof tents, medical supplies like bandages, wound cleaning supplies, antiseptic, anti-inflammatory supplies, more home-cooked meals, and while us volunteers try to make it out there weekly, we do not have the resources to cover every meal every day as much as we would love to. They need more dumpsters and trash cans, and ultimately, they need a larger voice in their community. If you have any of these supplies or clothes, we have a donations table outside, and it will go directly to our friends in the jungle through our volunteer groups that go there throughout the week, including mine. It is never too late to decide that your neighbor's struggle is a community struggle. Everyone in this room can choose that today, and I especially implore you, council members, to please choose that. I should not be the one here telling you this. You should be out there hearing this from them directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Jacobs?
Good evening. I'm Bob Jacobs. I live at 720 Governor Stevens Avenue in Olympia. I will be brief. I am here to support the naming of the 3 parks that is in your recommendations here. I particularly want to thank you for advancing Marge Young's name to use it as a park name now rather than waiting for the next park. She was a personal friend. She was a terrific person, a very competent person as a county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Olympia City Council. I'm Krog Unsold, and I've been preceded by people with much more stature and much more, let's say, standing than myself. And so you've heard about why we should rename the Yelm Highway Park after Jolene. And I would also like to say I support naming the park for Marge Young and the Armory for Bill Daley also. But I will give you a little personal side. Today I actually drove back from the Nisqually Indian Reservation where I'd had a meeting with the council, and we drove by. We drove down the old Yelm Highway, and we drove right by the site of the park. And I remembered all of the times where my family would drive the old Yelm Highway heading to Mount Rainier to go skiing, to go cross-country skiing on our Bona wooden skis with our Tempo bindings. That was before 3-pins. 3-pins hadn't even been invented. And we would drive there, and so that's a symbolic thing in itself. I also wanted to say something about Jolene. Sam had talked about how some people wondered whether Jolene ever slept. Well, I will give you I recount a story of some of her staff who have been on the Remembering Jolene Unsold Steering Committee. Some of her staff are actually up on the other side of the dais, but what they said that she always was working and she never did it for personal gain. It was always for the public good. And so she worked for the public good, and now it would be good if we as the public could name the park in her honor. And I would really appreciate if we could do that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Mary Ann Tompkins.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Mary Ann Tompkins. I am a board supervisor with Thurston Conservation District, but my views are my own this evening and do not represent the board or the staff there. And first, I want to say thank you, Mayor, for recognizing Minneapolis at the beginning of this meeting. It's been very heavy. I think everybody feels it. And so thank you. I appreciate that. So I am here this evening regarding the Tree Ambassador program that Lynn Fitzhugh and some others spoke about. And I was part of walking door to door and knocking on doors and talking about trees. And I am a tree hugger. But I want you to know that like Lynn said, we do have some large trees here that hopefully can be protected, so we need a strong tree code. Coming from a development background, I can tell you that I won't go through everything that Lynn's already said, but Tacoma lost their tree canopy, Pierce County, and they're scrambling really hard to try to get it back. They have some really high pollution there because of that, and we can be different. Development can be different. We can save some of our large trees, which is what we need to do. I know that developers will sometimes say that it's more expensive to build smaller homes because if you build two 1,000 square foot homes, it's more expensive than building a large home. But if you save those trees, there's benefits to that, and there's money. They're actually makes a home more affordable or more desirable. So anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, one should be so proud when they successfully come and participate in the civic process. Ta-da! Indeed. So we still have more that would like to participate, and those folks are joining us virtually. So we'll just give staff a moment to pull up the virtual public commenters, starting with Teresa Jennings. Great. So, Teresa, when you're ready, you can go ahead and unmute your mic, and the timer will start for 2 minutes.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm here to ask that progress be made on the Thurston County Climate Mitigation Plan and that progress be moved forward on the tree ordinance. I have children and grandchildren, and it is my hope that my grandchildren will be able to tell their grandchildren that our generation cared about them and the livability of this area. I am scared about the future that climate change is making for them. And as I look around, there is lots of development going on. And these developers need guidance. I don't want development that is done in ways that contribute to climate change. I don't want my grandchildren living in a treeless moonscape. I want them to have the benefits of trees where they live. And I am tired of waiting to see the TCMP enforced. I am tired of waiting to see the tree code redone. We hear that you are planning to work on it this year, but we have heard that literally for years. Mm-hmm. Can we please start now without delay? Thank you.
Thank you. So next public commenter, we have David Webb. All right, David is joining us.
Yes, hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. David Webb, Olympia. First and foremost, thank you, Mayor Payne, for the statement against federal violence. I appreciate that your police won't assist uniformed Nazis, and I'm glad you haven't decided when you'll be sweeping the encampment yet. Last time I spoke to this body, I told you about how on December 6th, I had been unlawfully arrested by the Olympia Police Department for reporting them arresting a member of the unhoused community. City Manager Jay Burney said to me in an email the next week that I was not arrested for the constitutionally protected act of recording police, but in fact for the 2 outstanding counts of theft. However, such charges had not and still have not been filed, so it doesn't actually seem to have been the case. More concerning, after City Hall that evening, I went to Mekong's for pad thai and then went across the street to catch the bus home. There, I saw a few OPD officers surrounding a man. I couldn't tell what was happening, but I'm familiar with police tactics. So from across the street, I reminded this man that he had the right to remain silent. Officer Perez, again from across the street, told me that I was going to jail, claiming that I was interfering with his investigation by reminding someone of their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, again, across the street. Thankfully, I escaped via bus, and it seems the OPD didn't end up arresting quote-unquote unwanted person they had been harassing. Because unfortunately, that's literally what they classify our unhoused neighbors as. There were no arrests, so there's no police report, but the service log from that night says that the 5 officers I've observed responding were dispatched for a quote-unquote unwanted person. So just like Mayor Payne, bringing this announcement to the Chamber of Commerce is a reflection of his values, goals, and priorities. We need to stop dehumanizing people just because they can't afford the constantly rising rent and do not own property. The city should be providing resources and helping resolve infrastructures, not just send white men with guns.
Thank you. Next, we have Doug Levy. All right, Doug is joining us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Doug Levy, testifying tonight because I have the 3.5-year-long honor of serving as Jolene Unsold's communications director and legislative aide during her time in Congress. Jolene brought her passion to serving her community as a citizen activist, as you heard earlier. She brought her passion for serving her state to the Washington legislature, and she brought her passion for serving her country to the United States Congress. But for all her formative years as a Washington resident, wife, and mother, her heart belonged to Olympia. As a person who had the extraordinarily difficult job of trying to write and speak for an elected icon like Jolene, I'll go out on a limb and say she would have been proud and perhaps a little bit embarrassed by the proposal to name a new Yelm Highway Community Park in her honor. But for all of you, this is a tremendous opportunity to grab a hold of and run with. Just think about it. Jolene devoted years of her career to protecting natural areas and ecosystems and the outdoors. So naming an outdoor park after her is a fitting tribute. Jolene spent a lifetime working to make the government sector an open and transparent space for the public it serves. So naming this open space after her is instant karma. And Jolene blazed an early trail for women to serve in public office, proving that all people with smarts and guts and a tremendous work ethic truly belong. So naming this facility after a leader for Washington State women in politics is policy perfection. For all these reasons, I respectfully urge you to follow the recommendations of your Park Advisory and Council Livability and Public Safety Committees and make this new park the Jolene Unsold Community Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Julie Frick.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I am speaking for the Thurston County League of Women Voters who support the naming of the Yelm Highway Community Park for Jolene Unsold and the Kaiser Wood Park for Marge Young. Both of these women were members of the League and were outstanding community leaders. Jolene's interest in open government, and she was a leader in getting the initiative 276 passed, which is the Public Disclosure Act. She wrote the booklet, Who Gave, Who Got, and How Much, which is apt term for even today. Jolene served 2 terms as state legislator and 3 terms in Congress. She was an environmentalist, and she was interested in getting legislation passed on a water quality and toxic waste cleanup. Marge Young led the League's work on planning, parks, and shoreline management in the early 1970s. She is a leader in local government as well as the first woman elected to the Thurston County Commission. Only 3 of the Olympia 15 parks are named for women. Naming 2 parks for these league leaders would add to the number of women recognized. And we thank you for your consideration of this.
Thank you. Next public commenter, we have Colin Bartlett, followed by Sue Lean.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. My name is Colin Bartlett. I'm a business owner in Olympia. I'm also a planning commissioner for Thurston County, and for years I was a houseless resident in Olympia. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in solidarity with my friends and neighbors in the community they have built for each other called the jungle. I hope that you consider why it is that people still live in the jungle. If you spoke with jungle residents, they would first tell you that sustainable alternatives simply do not exist. The worst and most common outcome for people forced out of encampments is that they find themselves bounced back into the street space available without the social and physical infrastructure they had built for themselves, when the alternatives that you offer shut down, lack capacity, or not an alternative they qualify for. They may also tell you that the jungle allows them to live with an agency and dignity that housed people take for granted, and that houseless or conditionally housed folks are routinely denied. They want the right to maintain their found family, including companion animals, negotiate mental health struggles with support rather than punishment, and generally live without the state scrutiny or judgment that no housed person would ever accept. This is the point at which people become viewed as problems, when they have become systematically denied viable alternatives to a life lived under the public eye. Most importantly, they would tell you that the jungle offers them a community of equals. They can participate in its condition and its future as people directly invested in the well-being of themselves and their neighbors. There's much else they would tell you, I'm sure, but I can't tell you what, because you need to ask them. Anything that is done for our neighbors in the jungle must fully involve them at every step of the process, fully meet their needs, and require their consent to move forward. Any alternative you propose that lacks these basic conditions is not acceptable. For the last decade, unhoused Olympians have had a simple demand of this city government that in all of that time has not been met. Nothing for us without us. Also support the tree code. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For our last public commenter, you couldn't see it, but there's a lot of support and smiles for your mention of the tree code. All right, last but certainly not least, public commenter, we have Sue Lean.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wow, I didn't know how this was going to work. Thank you. I'm Sue Lean. I lived at 3035 Quint Street Southeast for 54 years and recently moved to Santa Barbara, California, but I'm still very interested in Olympia and my city of so many years. I would like to speak for the naming of the parks for Jolene Unsold and Marge Young. Jolene, as you have heard, was amazing. She deserves it for public disclosure work, as well as all the other great things that she did. Marge Young streamlined county government, consolidating 3 road districts so that funds might be spent more effectively and with less favoritism to individual commissioners' districts. but she deserves recognition for getting the idea of the 911 emergency system established. She called for it repeatedly, and finally the commissioners gave up and put it to a vote where it was passed overwhelmingly, and is probably still one of the most favored public programs that the city enjoys. And both of these women are worthy of recognition for very significant contributions to public well-being. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comment. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, so now that we've concluded public comment, are there any comments from council? Councilmember Madrone, followed by Councilmember Vanderpool.
Yeah, I wanted to thank everybody who came and shared stories about the people that we're looking to name some park facilities after. I've done my own fair share of Googling of, making sure I know who these people are too. And so cool to learn about Marge Young and her being the first woman elected to the Thurston County Commission. I was sold on Bill Daley as soon as I, heard that he had a hand in the farmers market for the city of Olympia. I know he's done a lot of other things as well. And just looking into the long career of Jolene Unsold, the thing that actually struck me most about her as I was looking at her on the various articles about her was her smile. Like she seemed like the kind of person who would really just light up a room with her presence. And so just very excited that this is on our agenda this evening. And one thing I want to make sure that we do as a city is have information about these folks at these facilities. And I was thinking about how, we had some students from Lincoln Elementary who wanted us to rename Stevens Field because of, some of their concerns about Governor Stevens and the history there. And then we found out it was a different Stevens. So I just want to make sure that as we commemorate these folks by naming facilities after them, that we also do our fair share to, make sure that people into the future know the contributions that these folks had to our community.
Thank you. Councilmember Vanderpool, followed by Councilmember Gelman.
I agree wholeheartedly. I've really appreciated the stories I've heard and the articles that I've been emailed over the last few weeks and months. I needed to feel inspired in government. This weekend didn't really make me feel very inspired, but this makes me feel inspired. It makes me think about what we can do in government to inspire others and to make the world a better place. And so I'm very excited about this, and it's been a long time coming. I've been hearing about it for well over a year now, and I'm looking forward to moving forward at approval of these naming these parks in the Armory. Additionally, there were some comments that I want to respond to. So it was mentioned in the fall that we're going to be looking at the tree ordinance. I have my work plan right here for Land Use and Environment Committee. And on October 22nd, we are going to be looking at the Urban Forestry Management Plan. I'm hoping the folks who've commented will come and speak on this and give us some feedback and continue to move that forward. We don't, as far as I know, I had a conversation with the urban forester a couple months ago, and we don't have a solidified plan, and we need to have a solidified plan. And I don't know if, Jay, if you could speak a little to where we are with that, and just to ensure folks to know that we're going to be continuing moving forward with this.
Yeah, I think what I'll add is it is on the work plan. Mm-hmm. It is something that we're going to look at. Tim, our community plan economic developer, is not here tonight to speak to it directly, but I'll follow up with Tim just to kind of round the scope and expectations, and I'll circulate something out. I'll have Tim circulate something out to council and make sure that you have that well in advance of your land use conversations.
Thank you. And I want to mention how important this is. I mean, when I was in grad school and I was studying 15-minute neighborhoods and urbanism, the Portland Plan, it has an entire chapter on urban trees and how important that is and how much of an investment it is, and how much of a value add it is to communities. And so everything I've heard, I completely agree on where we need to go from there. I also want to mention the home energy score. I'm really excited to move forward with a lot of this. It's been well over a year of 2 years now. Oh my God. I'm ready. I'm ready for that to go forward too. I'm looking forward to it. And then, let's see, the jungle. I'm the Olympic representative of the Regional Housing Council. I would, tomorrow we're going to have a meeting at 4 p.m. The folks who've commented, please come and comment. We really need as much support as we can to ensure that stuff like the Franz Anderson project actually gets built. It's not easy. It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. But that energy of working with the public and working with folks that are going through this and ensuring that we meet those needs has to be met. And so please come. Please comment. Please help us get the housing built for folks in our community and get the support that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. First, I want to appreciate all of the folks who paid tribute tonight to Bill Daley, Jolene Unsold, and Marge Young. It was wonderful to hear so many voices tonight. So I'm really glad for that. And as other people have mentioned the news in the world, I'm a little cranky tonight, so if I'm a little strident, please forgive me. The Tree Ambassador contest is something we've talked for the last several months about having an opportunity for a presentation of these contest results. What are the biggest trees in the neighborhoods and the biggest trees of species in town? It was a project funded by an Inspire grant. And so I would like us to make sure we don't lose that thread, because we talked about, would it be alongside Arbor Day? Would it be along another staff report? But one way or another, I want to know, where is the biggest alder in Olympia? I'm curious. So I'd like very much for us to get that, and I'm strongly in support of our moving more aggressively to update the tree ordinance, because I do sense the urgency that those, especially those largest specimen trees, are particularly vulnerable to being lost while we're creating a better plan. And lastly, I want to appreciate Colin, Jaden, and Meg's comments tonight. And also just a tiny clarification about Franklin Street harm reduction is a private business. It's not a city business that we either funded or specially permitted. But that being said, it is a community issue, how we manage the free movement of sidewalks, access to bathrooms, places to put your garbage. And I would offer that there are two ways to make a cleaner downtown and easier passage through downtown. One is to criminalize, shun, and blame people and make them try to figure out for themselves where they go to the bathroom. And the other is to meet their needs with dignity and to realize that while we're asking for some accountability, if our community members who are out in the street are lacking basic human needs, then whether it's as a city, as a community, another way to approach this, instead of being angry at those folks, is to figure out how to provide a toilet, how to provide a garbage can, and how to provide a warm place to sleep. So I just want to offer that there are two ways to go at that, and I feel like we're veering a little bit towards blaming folks for being poor, blaming folks for having mental health issues. And I'll close with the last week. After our last council meeting, we had some exchange about this, and my wife and I have gone to 7th and Franklin each evening, once around dark and then once about 10 o'clock at night. as folks are settling in and speaking with people. And we continue to encounter folks who we've known for many years in this town, and people who've been special ed students who aged out of special ed, people who have physical challenges, disabilities. So I feel like those are our people who we need to include and care for and support and listen to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilman. Councilmember Green, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Payne. I know we're going to talk a lot here coming up in a few minutes about the parks namings and Bill and Jolene and Marge. So thank you to everybody who came for that, and I'm going to reserve some comments on that. But I did just want to address a couple of the other folks who took the time to sit through and be with us for public comment tonight. Like Councilmember Gilman, I appreciate the comments about downtown. I know it's always a topic of conversation, and I know that some of the recent changes down there have kind of increased concern or attention to it, and I just wanted to express, that I share those same concerns, and I know there are a number of us on council, as you just heard, who are still very connected on that issue and still very much want to see what are the right solutions for that, because it's not criminalization, it's not blame, it's not shame, but we're not there yet. Downtown's an incredible space. It's the downtown of our community, of our entire region, right? Downtown Olympia is the downtown in Thurston County, and so I just appreciate that your comments and that's being elevated a little bit. And then the other piece, thank you also to the folks who came and spoke about the jungle, and Mayor, I appreciate your comments at the opening. And I just want to say, that this is such a complex situation, but I am incredibly grateful to the city and to the committees that are starting what will be a very, very long process to find a solution for alongside the folks who are in the jungle. Because to our commenters, I appreciate that this does absolutely, long-term solutions to this have to include the folks who are living there. And I also just believe fundamentally that that's a wholly unsustainable, unsafe long-term space for folks. And so I just appreciate that. I feel like we have to start this conversation recognizing it will be long, it will be difficult, and I don't know what the outcomes are, but so I appreciate that conversation, but I just fully support the work that we need to do to find an answer there. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen, followed by Councilmember Barrett.
Yeah. Sort of similar comments. So for our commenter about Franklin Street and the harm reduction site and the uptick in activity, I suppose, that's happening there, absolutely, I agree. Some of the examples that you shared with us are troubling, and it's unacceptable in our community, whether it was a downtown or elsewhere, as some of us have shared already, that we are also concerned. So I see it as a concern. I don't dismiss your comments, and I appreciate you for bringing them, honestly, so respectfully. If it was happening in my neighborhood, I'd be quite frustrated. As well, I think it was just the last time that this council met, we had the folks from Franklin Street Harm Reduction came on their own accord to introduce themselves and offer connection and further learning, and we are taking them up on that. So we'll be touring that site and just talking about how do we support, and then also we'll trust them as experts to do the harm reduction work within their walls, and how do we make sure that it's not causing that antisocial behavior that you're talking about. So that is, in short, we hear you and we're on it. So for what it's worth. And then also about, there were some general comments about how we treat our houseless neighbors, and then more specifically to the jungle. So I'll just cut it short, is that I agree with you all that we do need to when you're trying to support people, you need to ask what they need and support that, right? So it is that exactly what you all are saying, is that they need to be included and they need to be empowered to, and we just need to support what that looks like. And I've been really, really pleasantly surprised. I started council in 2021. I've been really pleasantly surprised to learn about how much the city of Olympia has done and how compassionate our staff have been, as well as policymakers. And just as Jaden, I'm seeing you now, and then I think Mag and maybe one or two other folks had mentioned, but actually going inside the jungle, right? I don't think there's anyone saying you have to go inside, but choosing to spend your time that way or a portion of it, and seeing that there is a need and trying to figure out how can you try to meet that need for our community. That's something that I really appreciate. And it's something that also, I'm not sure if you knew or not, but our staff at the City of Olympia have done as well, that they regularly go in. Not as an authority figure, but in a lot of different capacities, regularly have a presence at the jungle, whether that's cleanup efforts, it could be just going and just checking on people and just kind of making that familiar contact. There has been also law enforcement and first responders showing up when there are situations, because that in itself is as a community out there, and there have been situations and we have responded to that. And so I am hoping that we can hear from one of our city staff here to talk about just kind of generally. I know that it's a big project, but just talking about how we plan to approach it, something that I would appreciate. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't just hold up that we have so many community members that have showed up to lift up their friends and loved ones that are not here anymore, not physically anyways. And also, usually when we do virtual public comment, some people have left. They've said, that's it, my dinner's getting cold, I'm not staying on anymore. And all those people stayed on, and some to talk about why these parks and buildings should be renamed after people they admire so much. And I think that's a big deal. So, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I just want to highlight some of the remarks that the mayor made at the opening, that as we look at plans around the jungle, first of all, nothing is imminent. I don't see any work happening this year in terms of moving anything forward. I think a lot of the work has to be done is around putting a good plan together. I've said repeatedly that it's probably 18 months to 2 years from any moment in time that we might even start addressing the jungle. We want to look for options to care for people. We want to look for options to house people. We certainly want to hear from them, and we'll, as part of our planning efforts, I appreciate the comments tonight. We'll make sure that happens. This will be a comprehensive plan that brings together the county and others. We're not going to do this alone, and we're going to attempt to do it in a way that's compassionate. So I just want to let you know that, all of you know that. I did provide my contact information. I hope you guys will reach out to me. Assistant City Manager Debbie Sullivan, sitting to my right, is actually going to lead the effort of working with the county and Lacey and others to develop a long-term plan for the jungle, and so we can connect there as well. But again, nothing is imminent. I think this is going to take quite a long time to get from A to B, and we want to do it the right way.
Thank you, City Manager Bernie. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just quickly, for folks that showed up about the trees, I hear what you're saying. I'm intrigued, and I'll be talking to my colleagues about what that looks like. And also, I'm not remembering at the moment exactly, I know that it's a work plan item, but exactly the full scope of that. And I think if I'm understanding correctly, I think the most important thing is that you want to see it to finish. You don't want to see us looking at papers and analyzing things. You want it to be finished. So, yeah, oh, soon, yes. You're going to get me in trouble with the mayor. He told me I'm not supposed to do it back and forth. So, so with that, I can't promise, because I just I really try to be honest, and we have so much that we're trying to do as a city, and there are so many community members that could stand up and say each one of those work plan items is the most important. So I can't promise that we'll move it up at this moment, although I can promise to look into it and have a commitment to try to get us to a place where we actually have an end product and try for soon. So for what it's worth, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep my comments brief because I am going to also defer my comments regarding the parks to when we get to that on the agenda. But I did want to just say regarding the jungle, I'm a firm believer in housing first. We've got to get roofs over people's heads in order for them to take the next step in their life. And I believe that. I also believe that cuts by the feds and the big bill to mental health and addiction services are going to really create more challenges in a lot of these areas that we are going to be confronted with. So this planning that we do is going to be critical. But I think it's critical that we move forward on this. And Mayor, I want to reiterate, I commend you for your leadership and on moving that forward in the next 18 months. Regarding kind of the issue regarding the Harm Reduction Center, we did speak about this considerably last week. I am very concerned about the people who live in that neighborhood. One thing that I didn't mention last week, this is one of our more affordable neighborhoods. These are houses that have multiple apartment units that surround this, and we've got to do everything we can to make sure that the people who live in that neighborhood feel safe and secure and don't just feel like we're dumping the city's problems onto them. And that's why answers to these issues are so critical. It's the people it's our citizens who live in that neighborhood that are really being impacted significantly. With that, thank you to all who came. One thing I would just say is that one advantage of being older on the council, I'm a new member, but I'm older, is I actually know these people that we're honoring, especially Jolene and Bill and several of the people who testified. Thank you all for coming and testifying tonight.
Okay, so just a couple of comments. First of all, for those of you who came out for the parks naming, the whole time I kept thinking, wow, like what an incredible thing to have happen for your friends to show up and, I don't know, just like love on you that way after you're gone, right? And it's really touching that you're all here to do that. So I just kind of want to sit with that for a minute because that's really special. And I appreciate a lot of what I learned from each of you when you spoke because not everything you can Google, right? And so there's those personal experiences that you have with folks that you don't get that when you look it up. So I'm very excited tonight to support the naming of these three parks in their honor. So thank you for being here. And to Mayor Daley's family, it's good to see you again. I know you were here before. So it's a huge honor to even have you here in our presence tonight to witness this. So thank you. In regards to the jungle, so I just want to provide a little bit of context. I said at the top of the meeting that at the State of Community, I made a mention about the closure of the jungle. And the reason I made a mention of that in my remarks at the State of the Community is because the community cares about the jungle. We have folks who are very concerned about the people who live there, and we have folks that are very concerned about community's health and safety of that encampment. And so the work for this year, which was part of my remarks for the state of the community, is to produce a plan to address the jungle. And that's exactly what I said in my comments. I'm not sure where the idea of doing things that are inhumane to our houseless residents in our community got attached to my comments. I have no idea where that came from. I will say that ever since I've been on this council, I haven't supported any type of approach to suddenly sweep one of our encampments in the city and just suddenly close it. So I certainly wouldn't start now. So, I just want to just say that sometimes things don't always get reported as they happen. And so I'm just going to be frank about that. And so you just need to simply reach out to the city and ask more questions, and we'll be happy to provide answers. But at no point have I insinuated that we would do anything but make sure that we do everything we can to house as many people as we can in the jungle, and then provide wraparound support services so that they remain housed. That's been our approach this whole time, and it will be our approach again. So again, the work for this year is to develop a plan to address the jungle. And I mentioned it because it was important enough to mention because our community cares about what happens next. And so hopefully that provides some clarification. I appreciate the folks that came out that expressed their concerns. One of the benefits, I think, to this is that now that we're in the early stages of working on this plan, our assistant city manager is hearing some of what the expectations are from community members, and that's better to know that and hear that now versus when we're halfway through or it's fully baked. So that's one of the positives to this conversation tonight. So thank you for coming out, and thank you for reminding us that we're on the same side, and we are on the same side quite often. Including on the immigration issue. So I just want to make that clear that I know that this is a really tough time and folks are really concerned about everything that's happening in our community, but this council is representing you. And I know sometimes we have different ideas about how to address problems in our community, but we are on the same side. Okay. So that concludes public comment for tonight. So we're going to move on to adoption of the consent calendar. Are there any requests for pulls or questions on the consent calendar? All right. I need a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All right. If there are no requests for pulls or comments or questions, all those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent calendar is adopted. So that takes us to our only business item that we have on our agenda tonight, which is item 6A, which is the approval of parks names for the properties known as the Olympia Armory, Yelm Highway Community Park, and Kaiser Woods Park. And presenting tonight, we have Laura Keehan, who is our Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance. Hi, Laura.
Good evening. I am Laura Keehan. I'm the Director of Parks Planning and Maintenance for the record. And I'm very happy tonight to be here to bring forward recommended official park names for 3 park facilities. And those facilities are the Armory, the Yelm Highway Community Park, and Kaiser Woods Park. Also with me tonight are a couple other staff members, Valerie Roberts, the Armory Building Manager, and Sarah G. Noble, Parks Planner for Kaiser Woods Park, in case there are any questions that they can better answer. So to give you an overview of what I'm going to cover tonight, I'll briefly touch on the 3 park properties to be named, the naming process to date, the Olympia Municipal Code section that pertains to naming of park facilities, briefly overview the recommended names. We've heard very eloquently from many members of the public who spoke better than I could on them, so I will just briefly touch on that. And then finally, have some time for any questions and any discussion. So the Armory's vision is to be a catalyst for creativity in Olympia, which inspires creative thinking, opportunities, community bonds, and collaboration through the arts. This 43,000 square foot facility will be home to 8 anchor partners, as well as home to many future community events through facility rentals. Yelm Highway Community Park is Olympia's first community park to be built since the 1980s. The Phase 1 park improvements include a full-size soccer field, 13 pickleball courts, a soccer mini pitch, a large playground, basketball courts, a dog park, and a satellite park maintenance facility. Construction is expected to start this spring on the park. Kaiser Woods Park is a 70-acre forested park located in southwest Olympia, and it currently includes hiking and mountain biking trails. The proposed park design will further enhance the trails and ultimately include 5 miles of hiking and biking trails of all levels. It will include a new access off of Black Lake Boulevard, a parking area, restroom, and public art along the trails. So to touch on the process to date, we solicited name suggestions for all 3 park facilities on Engage Olympia in late 2024. And then the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, PRAC, held a public hearing and made name recommendations later that year. And then ultimately, the Community Livability and Public Safety Committee, CLIPS, recommended the names Daily Arts Center, Jolene Unsold Community Park, and Marge Young Park. So I did want to share that the Olympia Municipal Code has 7 criteria related to park naming, and a chosen official name needs to meet one of the criteria. For the names tonight, they really fall in either under number 4, a historical figure, or number 6, which is an individual who has contributed outstanding civic service to the city or has been instrumental in acquiring or developing parks properties, and who has been deceased for a period of at least 1 year. So now I'll turn to providing a little bit of background on the 3 individuals who are recommended in the official park names. Bill Daly served as a city council member and then as mayor, and he was key in assembling the first Arts Commission. He was a strong advocate for an arts center overall, which is very fitting for him to be named after this, and he was an advocate for downtown and Percival Landing, among many other things. Yelm Highway Community Park is being recommended to be named Jolene Unsold Community Park. A little bit about Jolene Unsold. She successfully lobbied for a bill in the Washington State Legislature to create the Public Disclosure Act. She served 2 terms in the Washington State Legislature prior to running for Congress in 1988. And she represented the 3rd District in Congress, where she furthered environmental legislation and was the 3rd woman to represent Washington in Congress. Kaiser Woods Park is proposed to be officially named for Marge Young. And Marjorie Young, or Marge Young, was a Thurston County commissioner in the 70s. She helped establish the 911 central dispatch system, advocated for comprehensive planning and zoning in the county. She was a member of the League of Women Voters, helped establish Burfoot Park, and she wrote and illustrated a booklet on the plants of Ken Lake, which is very near to the location of Kaiser Woods Park. So with that, I did want to share the proposed motion tonight, which is in the staff report, and that is to move to approve the Community Livability and Public Safety Committee's recommendation to officially name the Olympia Armory Daily Arts Center, Yelm Highway Community Park Jolene Unsold Community Park, and Kaiser Woods Marge Young Park. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Laura. Are there any questions from council? All right. Seeing none, I guess we're just ready for comments from council. Are there any comments?
Should I make the motion first, Mayor?
You don't have to. Yeah, you can just make your comments now if you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned, I have a distinct honor of having actually known all three of the people we're honoring tonight. I knew Bill Daley and Jolene quite well. I was on Jolene Unsold's staff, on her congressional staff when she was newly elected. My wife worked with Bill Daley at the Insurance Commissioner's office after he finished his service with the city, and we knew him socially and as a friend. And Marge Young, when I first moved to Olympia, I knew her less than the other two, but she was a significant figure. I'd just like to say, Jolene was in every sense a champion for the public interest. If there's one theme, Krog touched upon this. Whenever I think of Jolene Unsold, I think of a fighter for the public interest. She's rightly remembered as the mother of the Public Disclosure Commission, and it's hard to imagine today how transformative her work was. Before Jolene's landmark push for campaign disclosure, wealthy corporations and individuals could give an unlimited amount of money to political campaigns, and it wasn't disclosed. Nobody really knew what happened to the money particularly, and she changed that. And the law that Jolene wrestled into reality became really a model nationwide for other states to adopt disclosure laws. It also was the first step of lobbyist disclosure for lobbying activities at the state legislature. One thing that no one did touch upon about Jolene was she was a reformer in the Democratic Party. Jolene served multiple terms as a Democratic National Committee woman. I just wanted to add that to the comments that were shared. And she served at a very critical time. We had a wonderful chair at that time by the name of Karen Marchiero, who also, Karen was a mentor of mine. And they fought to reform the Democratic Party from an old system in which the decisions of the party were made by two people from each county, meaning that Little Garfield County with 1,800 citizens had the same vote as King County with 3 million, to something more akin to a one person, one vote. And she was on a U.S. Supreme Court court case that was involved in instilling those reforms. A successful case. It was a case that set them on the right path. In the legislature, I think she was really most known as a strong environmentalist. But when I reflect on her time in the legislature, Jolene was very instrumental in establishing MODCA. There was an initiative that the corporate interests had put. There was an initiative that became an AB initiative, and the corporations were backing one version, and Jolene kind of courageously fought for this second version of the MODCA that created the Model Toxic Control Act in the state, and her version won. And so I think she was very instrumental to toxic legislation that we are governed by today. So in 1988, Jolene was elected to Congress, and I had the honor of being on her inaugural congressional staff, and she was very fearless. Jolene was fearless, just universally fearless. You don't see this courage in politicians. I have a recollection in the first month in office, the very first bill that Jolene sponsored was a gay rights bill in Congress. And this was 1988, and her district was very socially conservative. And this was a very courageous bill. That bill didn't move but it showed kind of where her values were and where her courage was. In kind of wrapping up about my comments about Jolene, once I was driving her to Pacific County, and this will always stick in my mind, for a political event down there. It was congressional work, and we were driving south of Montesano toward the coast there, and she said, "Paul, look at those trees." And there was this giant stand of trees that the wind had kind of formed into a unique formation. And she just was in awe of nature. Jolene Unsold was in awe of nature. And honestly, it made me never look at nature the same again. She had that kind of effect. When Krog ran for port commissioner this year, I do want to say I listened to him speak and heard him a number of times when her son Krog ran this year, and I want to say it was an unmistakable voice. I heard the voice of Jolene Unsold fighting for the public interest when he was running. I want to say that. That's something, it struck me, Krog, who is still in the audience here. Jolene's legacy lives on, not only in the laws she shaped and the reforms she championed, but in the people she inspired and the values she instilled. Her work continues through those who still believe, as she did, that the public service is a trust and that the public interest must always come first. I also have remarks about the other two, if I may continue. I want to say regarding Bill Daley, Bill had a brilliant policy-oriented mind. He was just a tireless champion for the arts. Bill, when I think of Bill, he just really had a brilliant policy mind, and he really had major policy chops. And certainly no one in our history, recent history, has done more for the arts. It's been said before, he formed the Arts Commission, instrumental in forming the Arts Commission, the formation of the Washington Center for the Performing Arts, the construction of the Olympia Farmers Market, and making sure that the Senior Center got into the Olympia Center, just to name a few. After his service as mayor, Bill became a passionate advocate for consumers, working with the Insurance Commissioner's Office on consumer legislation. And, later in life, I'd see him up on the Hill, and he would be kind of a citizen lobbyist for the social services. He was just a good person through and through. I also just want to say, I want to acknowledge Ann Daly too. Ann and Bill, Ann was married to Bill all the time that he was conducting service for the city of Olympia. And she had major policy chops too. They divorced late in life, but I just want to say she really contributed, I think, to the city as his main advisor on a lot of these issues, and I'd like to remember her. Bill was also deeply proud of his Irish heritage, and he became something of a local legend for painting a green stripe up the middle of Capitol Way every St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if we still do that, but that was something that he was known for several years. So anyway, thank you, Bill, for your incredible service. Marge Young, I knew Marge a little less than the other two, but there was a period in our county and city's history when a lot of meaningful reforms took place, and this was the era in which Marge Young served on the county commission. At the center of those reform movements were the League of Women Voters, and I just kind of want to hats off to the League. It was a different time, and they were a giant powerhouse in that era. And it's still a significant organization, but I think that was kind of their heyday in some ways in Thurston County because they drove so many reforms. As been said, Marge was the first woman to serve as county commissioner in Thurston County. At the time when it was no small feat for a woman to get elected. Her leadership brought lasting reforms that included the county creating the position of county administrator. We did not have a county administrator until Marge Young pushed this reform through. She wanted to professionalize the administration. She was instrumental in forming the 911 system. One of the other things is, it was kind of the old form of commissioners versus the new form of commissioners. And there was a time when each of the county commissioners kind of divided up the county and they had jurisdiction over the road departments within the 3 sections of the county. And Marge was instrumental in putting that aside and professionalizing a county roads department so that there wasn't a lot of patronage and such related to who got a job on the county road crew. But I think more than anything, Marge was a planner. She went to the Evergreen State College, and she was the first to really kind of get professional planning underway in Thurston County. It was kind of before we did comprehensive planning, and this was kind of the first step toward comprehensive plans, and she'll always be remembered for that. She was in every sense a change agent, someone who didn't just hold office, but used it to move Thurston County forward, and our community is a better place because of the work she did. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Barrett. And you also have the motion.
I do. So I would like to move to approve and recommend official names for the parks properties known as the Olympia Armory, the Yelm Highway Community Park, and Kaiser Woods Park to be called Daily Arts Center, Jolene Unsold Community Park, and Marge Young Park.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. It's a big deal. It's a historic vote. Yeah. Why don't we just take 5 minutes to just greet everybody who came out, and we'll come back in a moment. So we'll recess for 5 minutes. go ahead and come on back. So that concludes our business for tonight, and we are going to move on to council reports. I have just a brief mayor's report on a couple of events that I attended, and had a wonderful time at the National Day of Racial Healing event at the Olympia Center, and I want to thank all of our equity staff here at the City of Olympia for that wonderful event. And all of the volunteers. I know that there were a few volunteers that helped out with that event as well, and I want to thank our chief, Shelby Parker, who was in attendance as well. And it was just a wonderful time to be in community and hear encouraging words from a lot of folks who shared their experiences, and also to hear from Larry Jefferson, who was sort of the keynote for the event. And I had a wonderful time giving welcoming remarks and reading the story, Your Name is a Song, to a few children there. So it was great. Also attended the Martin Luther King celebration, an annual celebration at New Life Baptist Church on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And that event is always fantastic, and it's always open to the entire community, and the community gets to hear from the elected officials from each of the major jurisdictions in the county and offer remarks. And of course, I offer remarks, and my theme, I usually think of a theme every year for my remarks, and this year it was on nonviolence. We seem to be living in really tumultuous times, not too much unlike Dr. King's time. Frankly, he was killed because of, violence. So, but his calling us to be better and to rise above it, I thought was an important message to share for this year in particular. And then lastly, I attended a press conference for and offered comments for Representative Stonier, of Vancouver, Washington, of her bill, House Bill 1607, which is the Recycling Refunds Act. And that bill, I'll pull it up just to give you the quick highlights of it, because I don't want to go on for too long here, but it's a really incredible bill that I think will do some important things for us, and that includes reducing litter and pollution, delivering a scalable reuse system for delivering beverages in refillable bottles, cut waste collection and litter cleanup costs, improve recycling outcomes for bottles and cans, generate revenue for unredeemed deposits, provide direct financial support during transition, and create new revenue opportunities for local governments, including having an advisory body at the state level where local government representation will sit on that. And so I was happy to share some comments about the work that we do here at the City of Olympia and how we value our neighborhoods, our parks, and our waterways, which will certainly benefit as a result of this kind of legislation passing. So, and looking forward to our day on the Hill, so to speak, this coming Friday for the legislative session. And I am going to start to my right with Councilmember Madrone.
Well, I actually have a question regarding one of the things you just spoke to. The city manager and I were chatting a little bit about, like, okay, legislative session, we approve our legislative agenda, and then other things come up, and how do we engage on emerging issues? And, the Recycling Refund Act isn't on our list of things, but we did get a request, could the city or individual council members weigh in on this? And so, ongoing conversation in terms of, like, how we want to deal with emerging issues. But I just want to say, like, since we're all here right now, is this something that we want to have the City of Olympia just weighing in support for? We have an analysis from staff that said, hey, actually this looks pretty good for us. So we're all here right now. I don't know if just having this general consensus from council on supporting that issue is good for the city manager, but how do we feel? Great, awesome. Nothing to report.
And to be clear, I did check in with Mark Russell, who also did a little bit of digging before I did the press conference.
Oh no! I think no, that wasn't a call out for you. That was
okay.
That was me wanting us to weigh in, and that seeing that as my in.
I
That's
see.
all. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that wasn't a critique of you, Mayor.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm like, I promise I checked.
No. I just saw an opportunity to give that clear direction. That's all.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any additional questions? Yes, City Manager Bernie.
I just wanted to, I appreciate that Councilmember Jerome brought this up. I know the hour is late, not to get too far into this, but one of the things that she and I were talking about our last one-on-one is there are things outside of our agenda that pop up on the legislative agenda. Sometimes we find out about them the day before a public hearing is happening because they happen pretty quick. And how do I get feedback from all of you about how we should comment or approach those? Because sometimes I don't have enough time on one-on-one. So it's just something I'd like to put a pin in as we really think about after action after this session about how do we work and how do I work with all of you during session? And what's that look like so that we can act swiftly and promptly? Because we got into a good conversation about it, and I thought a lot about our conversation, and it's difficult, right, to get everybody's input in a short period of time. And then what happens if I have a mixed group of opinions? What do I do with that? And how do I give the lobbyists direction? So we're not going to solve it tonight, but I think it's a good after-action conversation before next session.
All right. Thank you, Jay. If there are no further questions or comments for me, we'll let Councilmember Madrone continue.
Nothing to report. All
right. Councilmember Vanderpool.
All right, a few items. So Transportation Policy Board met since last time. Not a lot of items this early in the year, but there was a bit of an update conversation, introduction conversation to the federal priorities and federal reauthorization. This is something that happens every few years about transportation dollars coming from the federal government. Not to be surprised, some of the things that are coming from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and from federal government don't exactly align with our priorities. I pushed the idea of thinking about encouraging alignment across the region on things like Martin Way and other things that we talk about year after year that we all, not all, but go through multiple jurisdictions and need a lot of funds, need a lot of support in focusing on those places. That's kind of an evolution of the idea of how we all kind of mostly support the regionally trail network. We should be thinking about those streets that are the worst offenders and need more safety improvements, cost a lot of money. And then I attended the Intercity Transit Authority meeting, passed our operating budget, not a lot of difference from the previous year. We approved the purchase of 20 hybrid 40-foot replacement buses. This is pretty standard as they age out. It takes time to order them. It's similar to the fire department where you order something and it takes a while for it to come because there's only 2 manufacturers of these things. And then, let's see, got a Village Vans update and how that program's doing well. Good work in the community and how that continues even after people are out of that program and ensuring that there's access for folks in the community. Land Use Environment Committee met in my first meeting trying to chair it. I think I'm doing pretty good. We discussed our work plan, passed it. We had a conversation about scheduling. Going to try hybrid, trying to do in person, and then so a part of the other. I think another point that I would like to make about that is looking at alignment. This is something I'm bringing up because I had another conversation with Craig Quitten, the chair of Planning Commission, on Saturday about ensuring that we better align Planning Commission and BPAC and the work that CLIPS is working on, and ensuring into the future that our work plan, we have a more of a unified meeting around our work plans and ensuring that there's an alignment between what we're doing and what they're doing. So we're going to try to do that around a couple things like sidewalk repair and EDS, and ensuring that we get the feedback ahead and we can try to get either a letter or someone from those groups to come to us and participate and ensure that their ideas and their interests come to council in their full form, right? Just to ensure that we're meeting those needs. And so that's something I'm looking forward to giving feedback to CLIPS in the future about those changes as they come in the next year and making sure that we meet the goals of the community. let's see. I also had a couple, there was a kind of a theme this weekend, extending from that, where when I went out and when I talked to Greg, and when I also talked to a member of the community from the bicycle community that had some concerns around street safety, there seemed to be a bit of a theme that has appeared. Even at the community forum that happened on Saturday, there was this theme about how does the city respond to transportation needs in the interim before a bigger project, because usually big projects take time, take money, take engineering. How do we find a way to find funding to ensure those little temporary improvements to make a street safer, right? The little investments. When we have a speeding issue, we'll ask the community policing group to go out and put the speed sign up, right, the trailer. How do we have deployable things in the future? And this is something I'm very interested in as a council. I'm going to talk with Mark about this, and talk with Sophie about this, and try to think of a way to meet those needs over the next few years. If we think about funding, we need to fund our long-term projects, but we also need to find ways to fund the things that help curve some of these incidents in our community and really meet those needs, because for years and years and years, and it continues to be, we have a speeding problem, we have a pedestrian death issue, we have a safety issue, and we need to improve these systems. And it takes time and engineering, but we also need to find ways to meet the need now. Let's see. I also attended the Community Priorities Forum the CNA had hosted that was mentioned off in the thing. I have a list of 30+ ideas people came up with. And I think an observation I've made, the thing that came to the back of my mind is, in the past, we've had a lot of funding that is events-oriented, right? You have your community events, and then you have your improvements in the community, those investments that people want. And, it's like about $35,000 is the investment, right? And so I think that, and I appreciate the CNA's looking at other ways to come up with grants to help fund those needs, but I also think that there needs to be a conversation about, as a council, how do we like, I know we just went through 2 years of tight budget, but how do we think about that? Right? How do we think about those two different buckets and supporting the community? There's been some revisions that makes it easier process for the CNA for groups, which I really appreciate staff working through over the last year and ensuring that we're getting improvement. But I just want to make sure that we think about that into the future. So yeah, that's my stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Vanderpool? All right, seeing none. Councilmember Gilman.
So first, I'll add on just a little bit about the Community Priorities Forum. That's what Grace Fletcher came and spoke about at public comment. There were 4 of us from council who came to listen, and there were more than 150 people. This was organized on about 2 weeks' notice using various social media channels. I think there's something we could learn. It was quite a show up with a quick turnaround, and it was a diversity of people in terms of ages, renters, homeowners, all different neighborhoods around the city, and great conversations. And if you're interested and you weren't able to be there, the website is cnaolympia.org, and there's a link to the same survey exercise the participants in the room took, and they would welcome your filling that out before February 1st, when they'll get together to compile the ideas that came from the forum. So that was exciting. The only other thing I wanted to mention, that Finance Committee met last night. We had we're calling them snapshots, but we had a briefing on sort of the color of money, the different kinds of funds that the city administers, and what sorts of conditions or flexibility on those different funds. And then we reviewed our work plan and have a work plan we're hoping that you will all approve on February 3rd when our committee work plans come to council. And one brief conversation I want to highlight for you is we talked about our investment advisors. We've had a contract with them for about a decade. Their contract is up for renewal this spring, but we suggested that rather than trying to put out a request for proposals and consider other firms in this first quarter, that we should make that a more deliberate project during the 2 years of this contract that they'll have to go out for a request for proposals and see what the world is like for people who want to manage local government investments. So I appreciated us being consulted. It's actually within the contract amount is within the signature authority of the city staff, but they wanted to have some touch with council because we have a strong interest in how investments are managed with the city. So that was helpful. And let me just give you one cool shout out. When we were at the retreat, we got to hear about how staff internally were able to take the priority-based budgeting work, build that dashboard that will be public-facing, build the new monthly reports that we can all see. Similarly, our payroll folks figured they could build a payroll system and a dashboard accessible to employees that rather than contracting with ADP, we've taken it in-house. It's both a money saving and it allows greater access for our employees to pull up pay stubs and W-2s, and it's just cool. So it's just another example that we've got this big picture priority-based budgeting, but we have staff teams across the city who are looking for these sorts of insourcing and efficiency opportunities. That's another one I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's really neat. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Gilman? Yes, Councilmember Vanderpool.
You know how I want to mention this because this kept running in the back of my mind. I'm just going to say it. When we kept mentioning the color of money at the thing, I kept thinking of the movie for some reason. You know what I'm talking about? The sequel, Tom Cruise sequel to The Hustler. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to mention that the color of money. Also,
Yes. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem just said the hour is late. So, for one business meeting. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Sorry to be snippy. Okay, one business item tonight, 8:36. All right, and my understanding is with legislative session, it being a short session, some of us have further work to do in our day jobs. And so with that, I do have a list of things, but we will be running through it quickly. I just wanted to hold up these are things that I've been to since the last time we met. Though I just wanted to hold up the annual South Puget Sound Community College MLK lecture that has, I don't know how long they've been doing that, but it is successful and informative and meaningful almost every time that I've been a part of it. And I just appreciate the city sponsoring it and taking part and just being there. And in her non-city council capacity, Kelly Green, that is a major force behind it, and it proved again to be an impactful, meaningful event. For those of you that like quotes out there, I have some for you. Some things that I had captured that really made me think the most from a really great speaker. Just a few of them. Loneliness is a public health crisis. Feeling joy is good for your health. Racism is not a psychological disorder because it can be taught. Everyone has an opinion, but vision is rare. On January 20th, I attended the Visitors Convention Bureau Board meeting. And I don't think it'll be a surprise to some, but as we're getting ready for a big world event, a series of soccer games, next year, and us being a fan zone, the projections are not looking great for folks that are willing to travel internationally to come and visit any of the fan zones. They're down quite a bit, and that's through tourism data and connecting with other VCB-like groups. I wish I could remember the numbers. It's a staggering amount. And then even, I don't necessarily want to name them, but even a local arts and science center that usually gets a number of Canadian visitors, their Canadian visitor numbers are down by 2/3 of what it usually is. And, I don't like to assume, so when asked why, it really is because of politics and what's happening, right? What's happening in our country, and people are not wanting to come. On the 23rd, I told the county that I would help them advocate for the passage of House Bill 2194 concerning sales and use tax for cultural access programs. In Olympia, we benefit greatly from a cultural access program. And really, this bill is to make it so that counties can also have a cultural access program if they choose to do so, but there would be a carve-out in Thurston County for Olympia since we already have one, so our residents wouldn't be taxed twice, which is also important. And then, just further kudos for on the 24th, the Coalition or Council of Neighborhood Associations Community Priorities Forum, and I heard so many people giving great share outs of what they would like to see after working in their work groups. And I asked Grace, I said, Grace, I don't see anybody capturing this. And I was like, we need to do something with this information. And she smiled at me and she said, AI is capturing it right now, don't worry. I go, wow. I can tell my time is up soon. So I'm looking forward to getting that list of things, and I'm hoping that this city council can dig in where we can, and the city can support. And I think some of these things, they're not really pipe dreams. They're things that we can really make practical realities for people that can just better their neighborhood in our community. So. And then I don't want this to come as a surprise to folks. So on March 3rd, I am working with Assistant to the City Council, Melissa McKee, and then a community member on what will be called the Bud Inlet 6 proclamation. So long story short, it's to commemorate the 50th anniversary of a 1976 event that happened right here in Bud Inlet, where there was a capturing of 6 whales. And to bring to SeaWorld. And we had some incensed community members, Ralph Monroe being one of them, and they got to work on creating some policy, and that event spurred global policy on whales. So more on that later, but so we will be not only having a proclamation, but also the city manager has committed to me that he will be brainstorming with staff on how we might be able to support some community education and awareness around it. It's a big deal, and it's not every day that Olympia influences global policy. So cool stuff. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen? I have a couple comments. One, regarding the hour that it is.
All of those things were meaningful. Not a movie, no offense.
Regarding the hour, we did have a pretty extensive public comment list tonight.
Sure.
But then also, your comments, I appreciate the update from the VCB on what's happening with the fan zones and what's happening with the tourism data. It's really unfortunate. You said it's because of politics, but I think it's not because of politics. It's because representative democracy is slipping into fascism, and some people would say I'm being alarmist about that, but I think we're past that. So not to editorialize you, but I just, I think it's important to just state exactly where we're at this time. Yeah.
You know, I don't really like to use alarmist language. It's like one of my things. Ring the alarm, sir. People are literally dying, you know, and the government's doing that. Wow.
All right. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I was going to just talk about movies and give my Oscar predictions, but in light of my neighbor's concerns, I'm just going to say nothing to report.
Oh, man, I wanted to hear that report. We'll have to talk about that later. All right, Councilmember Barrett.
Thank you, Mayor. Number of things to report. I attended the Olympic Regional Clean Air Agency meeting, my first meeting. One thing I would just report is that all of the inspections in the city of Olympia were clean. That was a good indicator, I felt. I toured the Public Works facility. The leadership of the Public Works facility invited me to do a tour of it, and I really learned a lot, and it was a great opportunity. And that is an aging facility, but it's very well utilized, and I think it's underappreciated within city government. I too attended the Ole Parks National Day of Racial Healing, and I found it an uplifting day, and thank you to the city staff for all that you've done, and thank you, Mayor. You read to the kids, and you gave a great greeting, and it was just a great event. I also attended the First Baptist Church regional MLK celebration, and I thought your remarks were the best remarks of any mayor present, so thank you. I attended the Olympia Police Department promotions event, and there were 3 officers who were received promotion into new roles, and it was a great opportunity. I just want to say I just love taking in events like this, because each of the officers, we learned about each of their lives and their families, and kind of in depth what they do. I really learned a lot about the police department, and I'd encourage any council members to take one of those opportunities in. Also attended the CNA community session on priorities last weekend, and we'll be sharing ideas in the coming weeks that came out of that session. I testified in favor of Senate Bill 6027, which is essentially modifying how we can use the home fund to give us greater flexibility. And we also had a meeting with Senator Bateman today about that, keeping my fingers crossed for the best for that bill's passage. And I had my first land use and environment committee, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Barrett? All right, seeing none. City Manager Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item. I also was able to attend the SPSCC MLK event. Assistant City Manager Ray was there as well. And to Councilmember Green and your role at SPSCC, I just have to say that every year the speakers just continue to just get better and better and better. And on more than one occasion on Friday night, my wife and I were both at different times drawn to tears. Just the emotion of the moment. And it wasn't all celebratory, but it was powerful. So I just want to just lift that up, that it's a great event that happens every year, and I'm just proud I get to go and attend. So that's my report.
All right. Yes. Questions or comments for the City Manager, Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen.
Bernie, do you remember what the speaker said about Kelly Green to the audience? What did he say?
I know she said she was a rock star.
And then he said, game recognized game.
Game recognized game. That's right. That was great.
Oh, I'm so mad I had to miss it this year. Darn it. Yes, Councilmember Green.
Thank you both for those remarks. And I just want to note that to answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem, your earlier question, so this is probably SPSCC's 9th or 10th year of hosting, but the event itself is at least 25 years. The Thurston Group of Washington State hosted it for a number of years as a celebration for their scholarship awards and their community awards, and they still do that as part of our celebration, but it's always a joy to be able to carry on such a long tradition, and I'm grateful to hear that people are finding meaning in it, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, well, if there are no further questions, with no further business.
I wanted to just give a little bit of relevant history. There was talk about...
Yes, Commissioner, I'm sorry. You can talk to us after, but yes, but we are going to adjourn for the evening. So with no further business before the Olympia City Council, we're adjourned.